Everybody, this is Chris Bowling. I'm trying to be Brad Johnson, be very polite on my opening. This is Bottom Line Thursday. We're going to be talking about the ACA penalties that Mr. Johnson has so eloquently laid out in his newsletter.
Holy cow, man, that was fantastic.
News broadcasting, apparently not smooth.
New career?
I'm just trying to be Brad. I mean, he's so good. Fire.
Well, I'm in shock, so I'm going to let Brad talk about exactly what's going on with the ACA penalties that will be decreasing in the coming year.
Yeah, this is fascinating.
How often do you hear me talk about numbers that are going down?
Never.
Today.
Yeah, there you go. Today only. Get them while they're hot. So ACA penalties, just to make sure we're all on the same page, all our listeners. So, thanks to the Affordable Care Act, if companies don't offer minimum essential coverage, they can get hammered with a huge penalty, basically shut their doors. They have to pay that one. Most didn't have to worry about that because they planned ahead and offered some type of coverage. But there's also a second penalty that could exist if the coverage isn't affordable to all their folks or it doesn't meet certain rules they call minimum value. But it's more so the affordability piece. So either way, both of those penalties are actually going down for 2025. They've already released it. And it's kind of strange because usually everything's tagged to cost of living, so penalties go up, not down. It's probably outside our scope here, but it has to do with the strange way they calculate it. It's based on premium increases versus what they project. So the premiums didn't hit those totals. So actually, oddly, the penalty went down. So we'll take it. But I think as we were talking before we launched the recording on this, often groups really shouldn't have to worry about the penalties that much if they plan accordingly.
Sure.
Right.
So I think that's a good lead off, and we'll let you two pros jump in.
It is fascinating. So I have our lovely compliance analyst letter in front of me, Tom Seltz. So I think one of the things that catches me every year is when we look at rate of pay, right? So now we're talking about affordability. And we look at the percentage of what you can afford to charge an employee. It was 9.12% in 2023, and it went down to 8.39%. So even though costs are going up, we're basically telling the employer, you can't charge your employee as much premium in your employee contribution as you could the year before. How does that make sense?
But at the same time, percentage went down, wages went up. So it may be the same final number out of the paycheck.
You're so smart, buyer.
Accounting minor right here. Accounting.
You can tell.
And the penalty, so the associated penalty that goes along with like not hitting that affordability. Let's see. So for 2025 is $43.50 a year, and that went down 110. So what's going to blow everyone's mind on the math? The affordability percentage went down. That actually was a bad thing for employers because more became unaffordable at the employer side. Yet if they have to pay a penalty, the penalty went down. Probably not offsetting the two, unless due to buyer's math, maybe because wages went up. No, I like that. That's good. But
that's the only reason I can think that they would have changed because they saw wage inflation over the last year. But at the end of all of this, I think the key thing is if you're an employer and you're not at least reviewing this every year, if not maybe every other year, that's a bad thing. Granted, the affordability penalty is not great. It's probably much less than what you're going to be paying toward the employee or family cost of premium if you got the penalty. But it's all about how are you discussing the strategy of your employee contribution alongside what you want them to experience, balanced with the ACA rules. I think both of those have to be there. And if we're missing either one of those, then the consultant's doing their client a disservice.
Yeah. So I was at a nonprofit, one of our nonprofit clients doing employee meetings, and somebody across the table raised their hand, and it's one of those things you're like, oh boy, what are we going to hear? Because for the first time in 4 years, this employer raised their contributions a whopping $20 per month. And I was scared we were going to hear, this is outrageous. So this lovely woman raised her hand. I said, yes. And she goes, has anyone gone on healthcare.gov? And I said, yes, actually I have. And she's like, I am glad to only pay $20 more to have the benefits that we have today, because on healthcare.gov, everyone's going to have a condensed network. They're all going to be HMOs. You're all going to have out of pockets at 9,000 plus. So basically she was the advocate for the employer, saying, if anyone's angry about $20 a month, go on healthcare.gov.
Can I
that's-
borrow her at some future meetings? I could use that.
Because it's never fun. I mean, we talked about this too. It's never fun to watch wages be eroded by healthcare costs. I don't think that's the situation there, but all of this, it just comes back to the entire discussion is more than just your premiums. It's more than just your contribution. It's more of what you want to do for the employees. It's balancing it with compliance. There's a lot that goes into the calculation, but I like your math today, Brad. Numbers going down. Good.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Well done as usual, Brad. Thank you so very much for sharing
Thanks,
this
My microwave still works even after.
Anyway, thank you, Brad, for bringing this one up.
Brad.
Good time.
All right, see you
Take
guys.
care. We'll see you. All right, bye-bye.